Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening on our Market Talk. My name is Rachel. I'm here with the Prevail Group, Marketing and Sales Coordinator. I would like to introduce Amy and Kevin, buyers and listing agents for the Prevail Group.
Hello, hello. My name is Amy Sally. I am the lead buyer's agent for the Prevail Group. We're a residential real estate company. We work primarily in the Southwest area, although our buyers do take us all over the place. But yeah, and this is
I'm Kevin.
Kevin.
Hi.
Introduce
Okay.
yourself.
Well, you just introduced me. I'm Kevin Sally. I'm the listing agent of the Prevail Group, and everything Amy just said.
Repeat that.
I know, right? Yeah. Okay, Sarah.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for having me. My name is Sarah Flannery. I am a senior loan officer with Vertex Financial Group. Specialize in doing residential mortgages, whether you're refinancing or purchasing a home in your future or current. And I work really closely with Amy and Kevin and Rachel to really give some top-notch service to our clients to make sure they're making the best decision when they're buying a home.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. Do you want me to start like going into my spiel?
Let's introduce. So Terry, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Terry Pettit. I am one of the owners of Max Waste Services. So we're in the construction industry, 20-yard roll-off dumpsters to Denver Metro and the surrounding area. And we've been doing this for 10 years, so we're hoping to be doing it. The business Max has been in business for over 50 years. I've been doing it for 10, so we're looking forward to the future, even with all of this going on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Who's next?
Mike, you want to go?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Kohner. I'm the Senior Vice President of Mortgage Lending with Blue Leaf here in Colorado, and we also lend in all 50 states. Thanks for allowing us on the call.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Julie?
Hey, I'm Julie with A Buyer's Choice Home Inspections. My dad and I own the company. I don't do inspections. I just take care of my clients and their clients and making sure that the home inspection gets done and everyone is taken care of. We do also offer radon test and sewer scope, which we schedule at the same time, doing inspections from Fort Collins to Pueblo, the Front Range to like Bennett or whatever else is far out that way.
Exactly.
Right.
Awesome. Thanks. And Trish.
I had to unmute. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Trish Tishman. I am an escrow closer with Apex Title, and things are crazy right now. We're just really keep catching up and keeping up with all the refinances that are going on out there right now, and then being flexible with closings. And we've always been really flexible. We've always been go to your home, or we've done what we need to do to make our clients happy. But even now, we're taking some extra precautions with all sorts of neat personal protective equipment. So I've gone through 2 bottles of Clorox just in closings, and I've gone through a whole bunch of gloves, and I've ordered new masks. So wow. I need to branch out and have some prettier masks.
Yeah.
So that's my next goal. I need more coordination. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Thanks for being on.
So I think what we should do is circle back through, and we'll just go back in the same order. And if you could, for your industries, tell us kind of how you've been impacted, kind of what changes you've had to make, and how your industry is currently doing.
Yeah.
That's great. So Sarah, if you want to start first.
Sure, absolutely. I'm going to take it from a couple different angles in regards to buy side and refinance side. I'll start off with the refinance side since that's a hot moment right now, or has been for the past 2 months. So since the pandemic started, even before the pandemic started, rates were very, very low. We've been very, very busy. Lots of people interested in obviously maximizing when the stock market is crashing, interest rates go low, so that's our benefit when that happens. So It was going really, really great. But what had happened was a lot of our, across the nation, I had read a stat in March, we had put in the amount of volume that we do in a year across the nation in refinance volume in 2 weeks. So what started happening was that a lot of lenders, while rates should have been a little bit lower with the way things were showing, they were overloaded. And then COVID happened. And so when COVID came on, everybody was not sure what to do. They're kind of like, do we prepare for what happened in 2008? Like, they just basically started laying out new overlays and guidelines like weekly. And so I'm a broker, so I work with over 40 lenders. And so it was just boom, 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 different this, different that. And basically what's starting to happen is people obviously want to refinance, but people are putting their loan into forbearance, so they're not understanding what that means. People are, unfortunately, when you're unemployed or not receiving an actual paycheck, there's not much we can do in the refinance world until you're actually receiving that paycheck again. So everybody got kind of laid off, and it's just been very, very interesting to watch. So since it's changing literally weekly, every conversation I'm having with people, I'm really having to dig a little bit more into their situation up front just to make sure that it's going to suit them. Because with forbearance, I know there's been a lot of talk about it. I'm sure we've talked about it on here before, but it's not forgiveness. And there's definitely a time and a place for it. But I think what's kind of scary right now is that a lot of banks, because of volume, are allowing you to put your loan into forbearance without speaking to a human, which I think is really kind of crazy. You really want to make sure that you're doing the right thing for yourself. And sometimes it is the right thing. But I think what's been really hard and really scary is that people, I've had borrowers that we've closed in the past, I've been doing this for 8 years, reach out. I'm considering putting my loan into forbearance. Well, are you still receiving income? Can you make the payment? Yes, but I just don't want to. Well, that's not the reason to use forbearance. And so what's happening is we are seeing more and more people, as people have been losing their jobs, filing for unemployment, use the forbearance, and it's caused a lot of hang-ups with our lenders because they're not able to sell those loans. So on the refinance front, it's still really strong. The market is still really, really great. Interest rates are very, very low. It's definitely worth taking a look at your financial situation to see if it makes sense. But every lender's got a little bit of a different guideline, and I'm also licensed in 6 states across the country. So every state, because not every state is following the same stay-at-home orders, like Douglas County open, but Arapahoe and Denver aren't. And I'm licensed in Washington and California and Arizona, and everybody's handling it a little bit differently. So it just, not every case is the same. In regards to purchases, I was going to say, our normal purchase season, starts March, April. We're starting to ramp up. And then COVID happened. And so we kind of were at a really big standstill during that time. And now I'm really starting to see things heat up with people really interested in wanting to buy. We were kind of in this weird holding pattern. And now all of a sudden, yes, we can do it. There's tons of inventory out there. And I think the inventory out there, from what I've been seeing with people's offers, it's all like really well priced. Like, we're not super over. We are really pretty much on the point money wise for what you're going to get for the best bang for your buck when you're buying. So I really think I've been encouraging a ton of people right now, take advantage of the low interest rate, take advantage of the inventory, because it will still be there. And now is a really, really good time to buy. Long-winded, but there it is.
Yeah, no, it's great. And
Yeah.
we're kind of seeing the same thing, with the ramp up now, once, things open up a little bit. So, and we are also doing that with pricing. Since I'm on the listing side, I do all the pricing. So, we're not being super aggressive in our pricing right now.
Yeah, and I think that works to an advantage for everybody, right? I mean, people that are trying to sell are going to sell their homes. And the people that are trying to get in there, we've had that in the past here in Colorado, people coming in super high over and houses are flying off the market, this. And I know we've seen that slow down a bunch, but I think it gives people a really good chance to get into homes. I think it's a really, really good time.
For sure.
Yeah.
And on the buyer side, I have a lot of people who are set up on drips through the MLS, and it ranges all the way from, I would say, 200,000 condo, maybe even a little less than that, all the way up to, gosh, 1.6. I have some people on searches, so I'm seeing a wide array of different groups of homes that actually come on the market, and I'm getting them all, every
Yeah.
single one of them, and it's daily. I probably get 10 to 15 listings a day that are coming on the market. So people are listing their homes, and May 8th, May 9th is when everything opens up. So
For Jefferson County. And
Yeah, I'm
the
like,
other counties
Yeah.
that are, supposedly that are, not shut down right now, they open up. So I think we're going to see even more of that, like a little rubber band being shot, pulled back, and it's going to release.
yeah.
yeah, our seasons are just being postponed a little bit because of the pandemic, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just such an odd time.
Yeah.
I listen to so many business owners struggling right now, and it's so opposite in our world right now, and with everything going on.
Sure. So all the refinancing, I think Terry can speak to possibly how that's affecting her business and what's going on there.
We were always deemed essential. Construction was always deemed essential. So we didn't see any kind of shutdown at all. And thank goodness for that. What we're seeing now, right, and I believe we'll see the residual. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I believe the residual that we will see in the construction side is going to be this month and next month. And I simply say that because in talking to contractors and staying in touch with them, the supply chains might end up being an issue if they are receiving products from overseas. And some contractors do and some don't. So it's just going to depend on where their supplies are coming from. I know like BAC Ferguson, they actually bought a bunch of inventory in January without even a clue of this. And so any of my contractors using BAC, they're not going to have any issues receiving any kind of appliances, plumbing, or anything like that. But so far, right, we're seeing record numbers in my business for roll-off dumpsters. We had record months for March and April. And so it was great, but I can foresee a slowdown. And like Sarah said, you're 2 months behind when selling season starts. So I believe that's going to affect the construction side too. And not new builds, right? But I do have a feeling maybe remodels might be affected just a little bit. I don't think anything excessive, just because until people are comfortable to have someone in their home,
Right.
That's going to be the biggest obstacle. So a lot of my contractors, I talk to them several times a week, and they express, we've had all these jobs in the pipeline that we're going to start, but homeowners are pulling back. So, because they're just not comfortable. Now, last week, I had a few say, people are chomping at the bit to get their stuff done. Get me on your schedule, get me on your schedule, get me on your schedule. So I think it's just going to be a matter of watching safety, masks and gloves, the contractors being extra vigilant about sanitizing and all of that. Our drivers wear masks. They sanitize their trucks several times a day because they're physically taking paper at the landfills and stuff like that. So they're still going to continue all the safety measures, just like our contractors will. And I think we'll see, I do think we'll see a little bit of a slowdown, but I don't think it will last long. So, but like I said, we had record months in March and April. So, and a lot of that was residential, not general contractors, not home or specialty builders. That was simply homeowners deciding to do a DIY project. So, and I do also believe that once the real estate market completely opens, like Amy and Kevin said, Jefferson County opening in Arapahoe and stuff, I think once those open and these houses sell, people are confident to buy, which means they're going to be confident to remodel.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I believe we're going to see, that's why I believe it's going to be a little bit of a lull, because it's going to take some time to sell. It's going to take some time to close, because title companies, they have to come out to the cars and they have to do all of the things. So I think we'll see that lull, but I think it's going to hit. And when it comes back, I'm going to be so busy that I can't be on a Zoom meeting with you guys. So, but that's what we're seeing from our side, in the construction side. So.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's interesting. We've seen this, and I think every one of us here are seeing like super busy times versus slower times at a little bit different scale. It's kind of like a slinky of it. You were either on the front end or the back end of this. That's kind of what it feels like. So very interesting. Yeah.
Exactly. I agree.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thanks, Terry.
Mike,
Sure.
would you like to go next?
Sure. And I was like, I hit the wrong button. Everything started moving over here. So, I think I'd just support what Sarah was saying with regards to the market and the mortgage side of things. She spoke a little bit about the tidal wave of kind of the tidal wave of business that came in right around the end of February. So, there were $2 trillion in mortgages originated last year. And at that time, there was about $6 trillion of mortgages that were eligible that would really have benefited by refinancing. And so there was just this gigantic wave, and it created a challenge with liquidity. So there just wasn't enough money in the market. There weren't enough buyers of mortgages. So there's been a little bit of a spigot on, spigot off type reaction in the market. So interest rates would climb up really quickly within a day, and then there'd be some money the next day and rates would drop. So that's part of what's been happening. And then just to maybe add a little clarity on the forbearance piece as well, it's a big issue for all lenders right now, because there were a lot of people doing cash out refinances within this process. And then basically within a day or two, or let's say within the first 30 days, they were requesting forbearance. So, it makes sense. Hey, I got this money, I'll put off my payment. But what that did is it really created an issue in the servicing. So there's some really, really stiff penalties that exist. The short story is it's a 7% penalty if somebody either purchases and then goes into forbearance, or refinances and goes into forbearance. So, $500,000 loan, $35,000 penalty to a lender.
Ouch.
So we are on, the riskometer is a little dialed up, right? We're all just trying to make sure, hey, what's really taking place. So, forbearance, not a great thing if you can make your payment. I think Sarah said really well. Make your payments and don't do that if at all possible. So then within that, I would agree. I think the refinance side of things is just a great time, right? 30-year fixed rates in the low threes, 15-year in the mid 2 5/8, 2 3/4. So the market is really looking for those two products. But where there's a really good sweet spot for a lot of people is to look at it as a custom term. So, instead of like, if you will, losing ground, hey, I don't want to go back to a 30-year, I've been paying, 4 years, or 5 years, or 6. So you can look at a custom term, and with the rate drop, usually the payment is either equal to or less, or you can literally customize it to get exactly what you want. So we've been doing a lot of that. 23-year term for a client who was 4 years into it, they were able to drop their rate and knock off 3 or 4 years of the amortization. They saved about 50, they'll save 50 to 60,000 in interest, right? It makes a ton of sense for them to look at doing that.
Yeah.
And then on the buy side, I would just say, man, what a great time. So as we're all doing it, lowest interest rates ever. Motivated sellers might be maybe the understatement right now, right? Everybody, would love to have somebody that could walk in and buy their home. And so, we just are really making sure that we have done the pre-approval side of it. Just asking every question so that when you're walking in to buy that home, you know exactly what you can do. You can negotiate well and close in a timely fashion. Probably the only other thing I would say is that we are seeing, especially with values and just timing, seeing a lot of property inspection waivers between refinances, and I've even had 2 on purchases. Just the values of home, maybe sellers being motivated a little bit under the market. So we're getting property inspection waivers on a lot of stuff all the way around, and that's been great because now obviously you can close in a quick time frame.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd leave
I'm
it.
going to ask you if you're seeing anything with appraisal lags at all, or is it still just kind of?
No, none. And, and I would even say, for all of us, the appraisers are, I think that initial tidal wave that happened, 60 days ago, all of those loans are closing now, and there's still plenty of refinance business coming in, but it's way less than what it was. So the appraisers are snatching those orders up pretty quickly. And if you really want it, just $125 rush fee, and we'll get it. They'll get them back almost within 3-4 days. I mean, it's shocking how quick they're getting stuff back.
Wow.
Nice.
It's funny how unbusy they get with that rush fee.
That's it.
Very quickly.
Actually, I do have a free spot on my calendar. Look at that.
Go figure.
Yeah. Rush fee is a great thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think some of my contractors would like to see that with the permitting departments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you had mentioned sellers looking for the right buyer. We had looked at a house late March, and they were overpriced. And my buyers, went and looked at it, and we had just started wearing gloves and using hand sanitizer when we were going into the house. We hadn't shut down yet. And I texted the listing agent and I said, if you were probably, I think they were like 30,000 overpriced. And I said, if you guys are right at this number, I think my buyers would be really interested. And she's like, well, we just went on the market. They're still active, just so you know. They're still active.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the time to be pushing
Do
prices.
not push pricing right now.
No.
If just don't do it. It's not good to do.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks,
that.
Mike.
Thank you.
Julie, would you like to add to the conversation?
Sure. Hearing Mike talk about people waiving the inspection, I'm just like, don't do that. I mean, for a refinance, yeah, whatever. You already are in that.
I was just saying waive the appraisal, not the inspection.
Oh, the appraisal. Okay.
Home inspection, fantastic.
Yeah.
Use of money.
Thank you. I guess I was just hearing what the bad could be. Yeah, so home inspection, wow, thank you for having me on here because home inspectors don't often get asked to attend these kind of things. So it's very awesome to be here. Our home inspection, oh my gosh, let's see. Was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday morning from 8:30 until 10, I was taking inspection orders. It was so fast. And generally, people call Dave or Peter are my inspectors directly. So the fact that I was on the phone for 2.5 hours scheduling inspections was good news. As I walk around my house and drive around, I'm seeing lots of more for sale signs with good news. So our business, nobody has been where they needed or they expected to be at this point because of COVID, but we still had business and we were still doing inspections, being aware of what the CD says we need to do, wearing the gloves and physical distancing and the masks, and able to customize what needs to be done inside of the property based on what the buyer, if it's a vacant property, what the buyer would like and what the real estate agent is expecting for us to do. So that's pretty awesome. We appreciate being able to do that. And
Have you run into any special requests from sellers that actually live in the home when you have to come in and do an inspection?
no,
Nothing?
not. We have not. There was one seller who was he was a first responder. I don't know for what, but he did get a positive diagnosis for COVID, and Dave had been in to inspect the property 2 days prior. So when Dave was going back to pick up the radon, the guy said, hey, I did test positive and I do have COVID. And so he cleaned off the radon machine. He put it outside, the radon machine and the stool, and he put that outside for Dave to pick up after he had disinfected it. So that was the only seller anything that we had. And we appreciated being.
Thank goodness he knew.
Yeah, thank goodness he knew. We're kind of sad he hadn't known 2 days earlier when the inspection happened, but Dave is fine. He has not tested positive, so we're happy about that. So.
Did you guys see on the home inspection side, because I know, so we were under contract on 2 places, both of which fell through once they kind of stopped all showings. So right around that time frame.
Yeah.
So I know for us personally, we would have noticed where we had inspections scheduled and then we had to cancel those and they fell off. Did you guys see like this influx of so we got shut down, and then so for the next 2-3 weeks, you guys were still probably busy. But then did you feel an effect of that like 3 weeks after the shutdown? Maybe it was slowing down a little bit or not?
So I can't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago where there was nothing.
Okay.
Maybe we had one inspection. We didn't have any cancellations, thankfully. With 2 inspectors, we can pretty much schedule next day. I'm not going to ever guarantee that, but because we have 2 inspectors and the way I try to stagger their schedules, we can usually do that. So nobody was prolonged out 2-3 weeks. So we didn't see any cancellations, but we did see a severe drop either last week or the week before.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes
I
sense.
figured that you probably would.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Julie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Trish,
you're up.
Hi, everybody. So I've been in the danger zone a lot. I've been in people's houses. I've been on their front porches. I've been in their backyards. I closed my car next to somebody else's car. I think the biggest impact that we've had is to add creativity to the flexibility we already had. So Apex Title closes pretty much wherever is necessary. We don't charge for going to people's houses, or do split closings even. So I've closed most of them at this point with sellers at their homes or outside their homes on their front porches, on card tables. I own a pretty significant stock in gloves and clipboards at this time. Home Depot has a really cool little rolling laptop cart that now lives in the back of my car, as does a printer and a battery, and I have a mobile office now. So
wow.
It's necessary. I've been at a couple of closings now where documents didn't come through quite right, or we're missing one. The COVID attestation documents new for one company. We have our title documents. We have a couple of them, or one of them that gets signed as well. We're adding in some documents to let people know what to expect, and what there are a couple things that are changed that have been impacted. Title can't always find out if there's a lien in process right now. It's not a real quick response from some of the counties. So we're making up for that. I think though the biggest thing to be aware of is the people. And we've all talked about what it's done to the businesses, but I'm walking into homes and I've had some people who are just terrified of me, and they should be. I walk in and out of, I have more contact with people in one day than most of these people have had in two months. So it makes a lot of sense for me to watch out for them. And that's the first thing when I call to confirm what, what our actual closing is going to be, is to see what their level of comfort is and what their thoughts are. My husband got really, really sick, and he suspected to have had COVID, and I wasn't sure I was going to have a husband when it was done. It was absolutely terrifying, and it's something to take seriously. So I do. And if I'm more, I asked the doctor probably 6 times if it's okay for me to go back into the workforce because my husband had been sick. And they said, yep, you're good. Go for it. Go ahead. And it's scary to talk about, because if I say that to somebody and say, yeah, my husband was sick, they're going to assume that I'm carrying germs all over me. And sometimes it feels that way with the way people look at me and react with me. But at the same time, I've done those extra steps to make sure that I have a comfort level available for every situation. I guess one of my most impactful closings was a gentleman who was older in age. I'm not even going to guess how old he was. I don't remember, but he was in his 70s-ish, to give you an idea. I mean, he's not terribly old, but also not terribly young. He's right there in that danger zone area where they said you're high risk. So he had pneumonia, and I have a face shield, and I had a mask, I had a face shield, I had gloves. It was cold out at the time, so I had my coat. I didn't have a single body part of mine that was showing. And then I have a new perfume. If anybody's interested, it's called Lysol. So when you get out of their houses, absolutely, Mike, that's exactly what happens. I spray myself down all the way up and down, because I don't know what they have had and what I've had. So I think Title's biggest challenge has been the creativity to make the flexibility work for every different client. And everybody has a different opinion on this, and everybody has a different fear level, and everybody has heard different things and is educated in a different way. So I think that that's been the biggest impact on my business, is that extra piece of communication to see where they are and what their comfort level is, and if we need to do a remote online closing, or if we need to do a driveway closing, or what their preference is. I have been curiously not had very many people interested in doing an audio visual closing. That was a pretty big news, and that was a lot of, everybody was like, oh, great, fabulous, it's going to save us. But it also requires technology abilities on the signer's end, and that is the challenge. There's a lot of people that don't scan and don't know how to scan, so I'm teaching them how to use their phones to scan documents, and by the time it's said and done, the 2 that we've attempted have both been, okay, let's do this. Okay, now let's do this. And it just didn't work as helpful, because I ended up coaching one of them through how to scan on their printer, and that was fine, and I am happy to do that. But then the documents don't come through quite right, and I've done a porch pickup after one. So I did an audio visual that captured the driver's license and all that stuff, and then I just drove to their house, picked it up like a mobile notary, like I usually do, because that's the second part of my world, is I do a lot of mobile notary. Actually closed some loans for Mike recently, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
And going to those people's houses and getting it all set up is, I think, our biggest challenge right now, I guess, is what I'm going to boil it down to, is the flexibility is necessary. We step in and we ask them what they need, and we make it happen. And that's just all there is to it. That printer in the trunk of my car, though, that's been super helpful. No,
that's cool.
Yeah,
Ups and funding also.
We've run into the same thing, just trying to be creative, because we've had clients who weren't fearful, who are totally fine, and then we have some that won't even go in the house with us. So we have to open it up. We have to make sure everything's open for them. Lights are on, everything, so they don't have to touch anything. And then they go in, and then they come back out. Like it's just, we're just kind of going with the flow. I think that's what we all have to do, is just to kind of, make it work.
It is. And I guess the communication piece for all of us, every single person on this call has had to learn a new style of communication.
Yeah.
And learn to ask some additional questions that we hadn't thought of before, because we didn't need to. Now we have a new understanding of what safety could be. And I've had some people tell me I could take my mask off. And I said, you know what? I'm already in your home, and I'm uncomfortable here because I have seen a lot of people today. I've already seen 3 people this afternoon, and I don't want to accidentally infect you with something. I used my pretty little Lysol spray down before I came in, and I walk in with Clorox wipes and everything, Clorox wipe before I go in and Clorox wipe before I go out. I mean, I'm kind of medical. I'm clinical at this point. So I'm doing, and I might truly be clinical at this point because I do feel like I'm picking up these habits that might be a little bit on the OCD level, and it's okay. And I think that that's something that there are people who have thanked me for walking into their home the way I have and said, I was terrified until I talked to you and now we're good. And I had a lady that was 9 months pregnant and her husband was terrified. She was required to stay on the porch, and he was our little gopher, and he would come to me and would stretch out, and we were at maybe 8 feet, and I've got like a 3-foot arm, so he's really stretched to the max, just trying to exchange clipboards. And the notary book is a challenge. Every document that gets notarized needs to be a notary book. A lot of mobile notaries run around with a paper, and that's challenging too for the people who want to be contactless, because we still need to have that signature in our book.
Right.
I've switched over to have my notary book on a tablet, so I could put that into a Ziploc bag along with their pens and a Clorox wipe and send it on in, and we can do stuff through Windows. And I've talked through loan documents on the phone while I'm looking at them through a window, and it's just, again,
Intense.
here we are with flexibility. Everything's a little creative now.
I was just gonna say, Trish, you're getting real creative.
Say that again, Sarah.
I said she's getting real creative.
Yeah.
Tablet in a Ziploc bag. That's
So
a good
smart.
idea, dude.
Mhm.
I tell every single person that calls me, please do not approach the driver. They will not approach you. This is for your safety.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
And, some of the contractors, they're old school, right? They're like, but they've learned quickly that they can't come up and shake their hands right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And everybody's having to change the way we meet and greet nowadays. It's
Mhm.
interesting. Trish, for you, real quick, first of all, we knew your husband was sick, so it was great to see him. He gave us a very large, generous donation for our pet drive out of his pet store there on South Broadway. So that was awesome.
He didn't even tell me about that. That's awesome. Go Tom!
He loaded up our truck. I mean, and we took it to the Humane Society, and it was awesome. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Secondly, do you see any of those things you're doing now? Do you see any of those things, becoming kind of like the norm now that people know that they can just close from their front porch? Do you think people are going to start requesting things like that in the future, regardless of what happens with all this COVID stuff?
Well, refinances, we've been doing mobile closings for a long, long time.
Yeah.
That's not new at all. And I've been in people's houses since I started doing this job and doing those closings to make it convenient for them. I think that we're adjusting in our industry to be more client focused and more flexible for what the needs are. Hopefully everything gets set to where we don't have to wear gloves and a mask, and it's not commonplace, but if that's the situation and that's where we're going to continue going, that's what we're going to do. I guess it really is going to depend on what happens with this virus, and if this pandemic continues to stretch on. My husband's Dutch, and he just posted this morning or one of his friends that lives in Amsterdam posted what the restrictions are and what the plan is there. And I don't read Dutch, but he does. So he read it to me, and it really sounds like what we're doing, but they have it very scheduled out. And I think it would benefit us as a community in this industry to kind of schedule out and say, here's where we want to be, and here's what we're going to continue doing as long as the government recommendations are in that spot. So I don't know. I don't know if things are going to change or if this is going to bring a new norm, but I do hope that it does get titled to be a little bit more flexible. We figured it out. There's quite a few companies who figured it out.
Yeah.
And if that sticks around, I think that just benefits the clients. I think that makes it easier for everybody. I've been closing sellers in their homes at their counters while they've packed and they're in their moving clothes and they're signing documents and notarized from their kitchen counters in the middle of it then I go close the buyers a day later, or then later in that day, whatever it is, just to be flexible. And I think that that's going to take off with everybody, because if some of us are doing that, then we're going to have people hear about it. And they're going to ask other title companies to do it. And I think I hope that becomes common source, because I know everybody that I've ever done that for is like, this was amazing. I'm going to go continue packing. And I'm like, you go do that. I'm going to go take care of your sale.
Yeah, it's always been, title's always been that one piece. You know, the rest of the real estate industry is very flexible now. The lenders, buyers, sellers, both sides agents. We have the home inspectors that are, we have, you know, everybody that is. It's like that title piece is still the old traditional, let's sit down in front of each other and close thing. So that's why I was curious if you.
Yeah, I think there's still, I mean, Sarah and Mike could probably tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we're going to get away from actual ink on paper on things like notes and deeds. I think that that's always going to happen. And I think that people like me I love windshield time. All day, every day of the week, I'll go run somewhere and sign documents anywhere. So I think that that's going to be more of the norm because of the flexibility that this has caused to push people out of their bubble. Brick and mortar is important in a lot of ways. We've got those people that have to be in the building to fund, to cut checks, but do they have to be in that building, and do we all have to be at the same spot? So we're going to see some changes, and I hope they're all positive, and I think they are. I think that they're going to be customer centric, and anytime that's happening, you've got a positive experience. So
yeah, I'll jump in a little bit on that, which is still right. We're the lenders are the ones that want ink. Right, because when things get really goofy and we're all sitting across a table from each other, and there's those wonderful people that have JD at the initials, so the lawyers get involved. Everybody wants to say, "So was this your signature?" And right, but what this has done is that it's really forced the lending crews to really look at what we can do to get to an acceptable digital solution. And so, like a lot of different industries, there has been a very quickly ramped up, how do we get this figured out? Because, fall's coming, we keep hearing, right, this could come back. I mean, a virus is a virus. It's not like it's going away. So, things like this can exist in the future, and we're going to have to adapt. So literally from a variety of different presidents of banks and lending institutions are actively pushing for the digital solution. And what was expected, honestly, still about 18 months from now, is happening much, much faster. And they think all of us might have a solution by mid to late fall. Whether or not we implement it, we'll see, but it'll exist.
Yeah.
I'm in a similar boat with Mike there. I have 2 lenders that will do 90% of the documents electronic, except for the note and the deed and the few ones that they require ink signatures on. But it really does, what's nice about it is the buyers or people who are refinancing can basically sign on 3/4 of their package electronically. And so the face time that Trish then has to risk, or any other person, is so minimal. It's really cut down, which is really, really nice. So I do agree with Mike. I see it coming. I mean, there's 2 of my lenders that have jumped on it faster than everybody else, and it's great at the tail end. So I imagine that because of this, it's going to light a fire under a lot of people to really start to get it going.
Find their creative aspects.
Correct.
And figure out how to make that work. Absolutely. There's a couple of documents that are on the title side that are also probably going to want ink for the rest of their lives, and that'll be a challenge. But we're in a digital age, and things have changed. I don't go to the bank anymore. My banking is all done online. So we're going to start seeing ways to identify who people are electronically a little bit better, and that's going to make a big change just in general.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow. Well, really great stuff, guys. We really appreciate all your time. Does anybody have any questions, maybe for the other industry or anything like that? Nope. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming on. Really appreciate all your time. I felt like this was
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to get a lot of really good information out of this one.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
We appreciate it. It's good to see that everybody's flourishing. Nobody's, you know, buried their head in the sand yet and given up. So it's always good to see.
And
No,
then
not for business, no.
That's right.
Got one other thing, Trish, you just got to remember a little bit of vanilla and or bacon takes away any and all Lysol smell.
There we go. There we go.
I don't know. I'm getting kind of fond of my new perfumes.
That's great.
Aw.
oh man.
Well, thank you, everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll probably do this again in another couple weeks. So we'll let y'all know,
Okay.
and we'd love to have you on again.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Have a good
You too.
evening.